I would like to move the following proclamation in honor of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., January 18th, 2016. Whereas Martin Luther King Jr. was born in America in 1929, an America in which too many Black Americans were deprived of equal access to education and job opportunities, were segregated in housing, transportation, and public accommodations, and were deprived of voting rights and political representation. And whereas Martin Luther King Jr. began at an early age as a child of Southern African American privilege to shape his dream for racial justice for all in America. And whereas in 1955, after Mrs. Rosa Parks, an NAACP secretary, was arrested for refusing to give up her seat on a city bus, Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., then president of the Montgomery Improvement Association, too, was arrested for his boycott of the bus system and was thereafter subjected to a bomb explosion on the front porch of his home in Montgomery. And whereas in 1956, the United States Supreme Court declared Alabama's state and local bus segregation statutes unconstitutional. And whereas Dr. King, as president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, frequently met with violent attacks and jail while nonviolently protesting segregation in the South. And whereas in 1959, Dr. King, deepening his belief that if you love peace, you must love nonviolence, responded to an invitation from Prime Minister Nehru of India to study the nonviolence of Gandhi. And whereas in that bitter year of 1963, when NAACP Mississippi Field Secretary Medgar Evers and U.S. President John F. Kennedy were assassinated, Dr. King wrote his Letter from the Birmingham Jail and addressed 250,000 people at the Lincoln Memorial during the historic March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. And whereas, with his courageous leadership and sense of spiritual mission, he sought to infuse a new dignity into America's values. And whereas on July 2nd, 1964, President Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act guaranteeing all Americans equal use of public accommodations, equal access to programs financed by federal funds, and the right to fair and equal employment practices. And whereas on December 10th, 1964, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. became the youngest man in history awarded the Nobel Prize for Peace, an achievement which demonstrates that strategic, nonviolent grassroots protest can be a powerful force. And whereas the legacy of his life and death transcends his own historical period and rises above race and geography, impacting every aspect of civil and human rights, economic justice, an end to war, and a beginning of the intentional promotion of peace. And whereas on November 2nd, 1983, our nation honored Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. by setting aside the third Monday in January of each year as the Martin Luther King Jr. federal holiday for the nation to remember him, how he lived and how he died. And whereas in recognition that the MLK holiday, which has been declared a day on, not a day off, is further honored this week by local residents who live out Dr. King's prophecy that each of us can be great because each of us can serve. Now, therefore, the President of the Colorado Springs City Council and the Chair of the Board of County Commissioners, El Paso County, do hereby proclaim January 8th, 2016, in honor of civil and human rights leader, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. In witness whereof we have hereunto set our hand and caused the great seal of the city of Colorado Springs to be affixed this 18th day of January 2016. John Southers, Mayor. Merv Bennett, President, City Council. Amy Lathan, Chair, Board of County Commissioners.